Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Australian Defence Force Academy is Officer Cadet James Mayle. We warmly welcome the United States Air Force Academy delegation in attendance this evening. As always, we welcome the veterans that have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Dandenong High School visiting from Dandenong, Victoria. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
For those requiring a seat, you may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Leonard George New. Leonard New was born in October 1896 in Beckenham, England, the eldest son of George and Nellie New. Leonard left England and moved to Australia in 1912 when he was 16 years old. The move was for his health, and both of his parents and his two younger brothers remained in England. Leonard settled in Ayr, a small town in sugarcane growing region south of Townsville, Queensland. Leonard enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 15th of March, 1915, giving his age as 21 rather than 18. He was assigned to the 15th Battalion and began training. He left Australia from Brisbane in the troop ship Karula on the 12th of June, 1915, sailing first to Egypt and then Gallipoli. Leonard arrived in Anzac Cove on the 2nd of August, 1915, and joined the rest of the 15th Battalion in defending the front line of the Anzac beachhead. 4 days later, Leonard took part in the costly attempt to capture Turkish positions around the hill 971, the highest point of the Sari Bear Ridge. As part of the August offensive, the 4th Australian Infantry Brigade, including the 15th Battalion, attacked Hill 971 in an effort to secure and drive across the peninsula to capture the forts guarding the Dardanelles Strait. The difficult terrain meant that progress was slow, and by dawn on the 7th of August, the battalion was still well short of its objective. The following morning, the 15th Battalion attempted to capture Hill 971, but the objective was quickly deemed impossible. Leonard New was one of the group of men taken prisoner by the Turks and was wounded when he was captured. Along with the other Australian prisoners, Leonard was taken by a bullock wagon and train up to the peninsula and Constantinople, where he was briefly admitted to hospital. He was then transported almost 600 kilometers south to Anatolia, and then onto a working camp in Kulimagara in the Taurus Mountains. On the 7th of May, 1916, Leonard was asleep during heavy rain. As he slept, a big stone which had been dislodged from the hill above came crashing through the roof, bringing a beam down onto his head and fracturing his skull. He never regained consciousness. Leonard was taken to the hospital at Bellemedic, where he died a few hours later. He was 19 years old. Leonard's fellow prisoners of war built a wooden coffin for him and conducted their own funeral at the local Christian cemetery. After the war, his body was exhumed and reinterred at the Baghdad North Gate War Cemetery in Iraq. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honor on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Leonard George New, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you are able, I now invite you to please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.